Hit and Run, written by Edith Wharton, 1929. Narrated by LanternLeaf Audio, 2025. The first time I saw him was on a hot September afternoon. I was walking back from the station along the dusty road when a motor came up behind me at full speed, whirled past, and pulled up sharply at the bend beyond. Something about the way it stopped made me quicken my steps. When I reached the turn, I saw a group of people in the road. The car had stopped beside a child's perambulator overturned on the embankment. A little figure lay face downward in the dust. A woman, white as her apron, was kneeling beside it. The chauffeur sat rigid at the wheel, staring straight ahead, while a man in the back seat leaned out and spoke quickly to the woman. She ran straight in front of us. There was no stopping. His tone was impatient, almost angry, as if the child's intrusion had been a deliberate offense. The mother did not answer. She had lifted the child, who was moaning faintly, and held it pressed against her breast. Then, looking up, she said in a low voice, "Will you please drive us to the doctor's?" The man muttered something, an oath, I think, and sank back in his seat. Without turning his head, he said to the chauffeur, "Take them along." I stepped up. "I'll go too, if I can be of use." The woman gave me a grateful glance, and we all crowded into the car. At the doctor's house, the child was carried in. We waited outside in silence. The man lit a cigarette and leaned against the motor, his face set and sullen. He had not once looked at the mother or child. After a time, the doctor came out. "It's only a broken arm," he said. "She's a lucky little girl." The mother burst into tears of relief. I turned toward the stranger with a smile of congratulation, but his only response was a shrug. He flung away his cigarette, got into the car, and motioned to the chauffeur. Without a word to the woman or myself, he was gone. That was my first sight of him. Weeks passed before I saw him again. It was at the club in town. Someone spoke his name, Joel Marvell. I remembered having heard of him, a man of large means and larger self-indulgence, who lived extravagantly and rather mysteriously, dividing his time between Europe and America. He was reputed to be clever, unscrupulous, and without affections. That evening at the club, I watched him. He was handsome in a hard, polished way. His eyes were cold and restless, his mouth too ready with disdain. Yet there was something compelling about him, a force that drew and repelled at once. People deferred to him, though I could not have said why. Later I learned that he had taken a house near mine in the country. Our roads crossed often, and we fell into the habit of speaking. His manner was sometimes brusque, sometimes almost ingratiating, but always with a reserve behind it, a wall I could not penetrate. One day he surprised me by asking me to dine. His house was large, over-furnished, with servants too many and too idle. At table he talked brilliantly, though with a bitterness that sometimes shocked me. After dinner we sat in his library, where the shaded lamps fell on shelves of fine books, most of them unopened, I guessed. "Life's a hit-and-run game," he said suddenly, tossing away his cigarette. "You take what you can, while you can, and if you smash somebody in the process, that's their affair. Keep going. That's the rule." I looked at him. "You don't really believe that?" He laughed. "Don't I?" "Wait till you've lived as long as I have. You'll find it's the only rule that works." There was a challenge in his eyes, as if he dared me to contradict him, but I said nothing. For a moment I thought of the child lying in the road, the mother's white face, his shrug of indifference. Yes, he believed it. From then on, we saw each other frequently. He came often to my house, sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes almost as if against his will. He talked brilliantly, but with an undercurrent of weariness, of cynicism. He was restless, never content, always seeking something he could not name. Once I ventured, "You don't seem happy, in spite of all you have?" He looked at me sharply. "Happiness? That's another of the lies we tell ourselves. There's no such thing. There's only distraction and satiety, and then—" He made a sweeping gesture, as if brushing life aside. Yet now and then, when he spoke of books, of music, of things he might have cared for once, his face softened. I caught glimpses of another man beneath the hard surface, a man who might have been different had life dealt with him otherwise. Still, the wall between us never lowered. I could not decide whether he sought me out for companionship or merely to escape himself. Then came the day when the wall cracked. It was in early spring. He had motored over one afternoon and persuaded me to go with him for a drive. We wandered far, into lanes I did not know, through woods where the young leaves were just uncurling. He was gayer than I had ever seen him, almost boyish, with a kind of reckless light in his eyes. At last we came to a lonely road, running between banks of budding hazel. Suddenly he slackened speed. A child was playing in the dust ahead, stooping intently over something. I saw Marvell's face change. A strange look passed over it, fear perhaps, or horror. He uttered an oath and with a violent twist of the wheel swerved into the ditch. The car lurched and stopped. He sat motionless, his hands gripping the wheel. The child looked up, startled, and scuttled to the bank. Marvell turned to me with a ghastly smile. "Did you think I was going to run him down?" That's my little joke, my punishment. Every time I see a child in the road, I think of that other one. I never miss, you see. I always swerve in time, but someday... He broke off and with a harsh laugh started the car again. I shivered. The lightness had gone out of the day. We drove back almost in silence. After that, he changed toward me. He came less often, and when he did, he was moody, abrupt, sometimes almost savage. Once he said suddenly, "You're too good for me. You'd better keep away. You'll only be dragged down if you stay." I answered quietly, "Perhaps I don't mind being dragged down, if I can help you." He stared at me, and for a moment his face softened. But the next instant, he laughed harshly. "Help me? Nobody can help me. I'm damned past saving." Then he strode out, banging the door behind him. Not long afterward, I heard he had gone abroad. Months passed without a word. I thought I had seen the last of him. Then, one bleak November evening, as I sat alone by the fire, the bell rang, and in he came. He looked older, worn, almost haggard. Without preface, he flung himself into a chair. "I've been down into hell," he said, "and I've come back with the taste of ashes in my mouth." I waited. He went on, speaking rapidly, almost fiercely. I thought I could escape myself. "I went to Paris, London, Rome. I plunged into every kind of folly. It was no use. Always the same thing. The thing I can't forget. Do you know what it is to have a memory that never sleeps? To see a child's face in every crowd? To hear a cry in every silence? That's my punishment, my joke turned against me. I can't forget. I can't escape. And the worst of it is, I don't want to. It's all I have left that proves I'm not wholly dead inside." He broke off and dropped his head in his hands. For a long time, neither of us spoke. At last he rose abruptly. "I wanted you to know. You're the only one I've ever spoken to. Goodbye." Before I could answer, he was gone. That winter I saw little of him. But one night at the club, someone told me he had been seen driving furiously along the coast road, alone, in a storm of rain. The next day there was a paragraph in the paper. A motor accident. Mr. Joel Marvell's car found overturned by the cliff. He himself picked up unconscious, seriously injured. I went at once to the hospital. He lay white and still with bandaged head. For days his life hung in the balance. I saw him whenever they would let me. Once, when he opened his eyes, he whispered, "Still running, hit and run, even with death." But this time, I didn't swerve. He lingered for weeks, hovering between life and death. At times he seemed better, almost cheerful, and would talk in his old, defiant way. At others he sank into black despair. One evening I was sitting by him when he suddenly said, "If I get out of this, I'll make a clean start. No more hit and run. I'll try to square things, if it's not too late." I pressed his hand. "It's never too late, if you mean it." For a moment his eyes lit up. Then the old look of weariness returned. "Perhaps. But I doubt it. The habit's too strong. I'm like a machine set to one pace. I can't change. And yet, sometimes I think if anyone could save me, it would be you." His voice sank and he turned his face away. That was the last time I saw him alive. The next morning he was gone. They said his heart had failed suddenly in the night. Perhaps it was true. Perhaps he had only grown tired of fighting. I stood by his grave and thought of his creed. Life's a hit-and-run game. He had lived it to the end. And yet, who knows? Perhaps in that final hour he swerved after all. Read by LanternLeaf Audio. Subscribe for more audiobooks.